Hello guys, welcome to the movie Foster. Today I am going to explain the dark movie mystery thriller film in 1986 Blue Velvet. Warning, spoilers are ahead, stay home, stay safe. Blue Velvet displays such raw emotional force in its moments that it's easy to see why some critics have acclaimed it as a masterpiece. A film as sad and harrowing as this deserves special treatment. Those sequences of severe sexual sorrow, though, are a red flag for what's wrong with the film. They are so powerful that they deserve to be in a film that is genuine, honest, and truthful. However, Blue Velvet surrounds them with a plot riddled with sophomoric sarcasm and cheap jabs. The filmmaker is either ignoring the power of his material or attempting to neutralize it by claiming it's all part of a campy in-joke. There are two layers of reality in the film. On one level, we're in Lumberton, a simple-minded tiny town populated by folks who speak in television cliches and appear to be clones of 1950s sitcom characters. On another level, we're offered a narrative of sexual bondage, of how Dennis Hopper kidnaps Isabella Rossellini's husband and son and makes her his sexual slave. The surprise is that the kidnapping taps into the woman's deepest impulses. She discovers that she is a masochist who responds to this circumstance with intense sexual desire. Characters employ sentences with cheesy double meanings and gravely recite cliches to describe everyday town life with a deadpan sarcasm. Meanwhile, the darker narrative of sexual bondage is conveyed with terrifying cold-blooded reality. The film opens with a well-received montage in which picket fences and flower beds create a small-town paradise. Then, while watering the grass, a guy collapses, and a dog walks up to drink from the hose that is still in his unconscious hands. The fantastic visual continues when the camera delves into the lush grass and discovers hungry insects beneath, a metaphor for the town's surface and hidden existence. The man's son, a college student, Kyle MacLachlan, returns home to visit his father in the hospital and develops an affair with the local police detective's daughter, Laura Dern. MacLachlan discovers a severed human ear in a field, and he and Dern become embroiled in attempting to uncover the ear's mystery. The trail leads to the home of a nightclub singer, Rossellini, who lives alone in a sparsely furnished apartment. In a scene worthy of Hitchcock, MacLachlan hides in Rossellini's closet and watches, stunned, as she has a sadomasochistic sexual experience with Hopper, a drug-sniffing pervert. Hopper departs. Rossellini sees MacLachlan in the closet and, to his surprise, pulls a knife on him, forcing him to surrender to her seduction. He is shocked but intrigued. She wants him to be a bad boy and smack her. These sequences are really powerful. They make 9.5 weeks look modest in contrast because they appear to be spawned from the darkest and most dismal part of human nature. If Blue Velvet had proceeded to develop its tale in a linear fashion, delving further into the consequences of the initial frightening meeting between Rossellini and MacLachlan, it may have made some profound emotional discoveries. Instead, filmmaker David Lynch opted to break up the nearly hypnotic attraction of that bond in order to return to his lighthearted small-town comedy. Is he concerned that moviegoers won't be ready for stark S&M unless they're persuaded that it's all a joke? I was captivated and fascinated by Rossellini and MacLachlan's chemistry, but I was irritated by the director's constant interposition between me and the material. I didn't need the director to parade about with a top hat and cane, whistling that it was all in good fun, after 5 or 10 minutes of being overwhelmed by the screen realism. Indeed, the film is being yanked in opposite directions so forcefully that it is tearing itself apart. Why do we need a parody of the Donna Reed show if the sexual scenes are real? What exactly are we being told? That dark and terrible passions lurk under the surface of small-town USA? Don't put a halt to it. The sexual content of Blue Velvet is so unsettling, and Rossellini's acting is so believable and brave, that it requires a film that merits it. For years, American films have used humor to soften the impact of sex and violence. Perhaps sex and violence should be dealt with the seriousness they deserve on occasion. Given the impact of the film's darker scenes, we're all the more disappointed that the filmmaker seems hesitant to follow through on the repercussions of his observations. Blue Velvet is like that person who drives you insane by hinting at bad news and then saying, "Never mind." Another point is that in this picture, Rossellini is required to perform things that demand a lot of guts. In one incident, she is publicly humiliated by being placed naked on the police detective's yard. In others, she is expected to depict feelings that I'm sure most actors would want to avoid. She is ridiculed, smacked, and naked in front of the camera. And if you ask an actress to go through those things, you should maintain your half of the agreement by casting her in a significant picture. That's what Bernardo Bertolucci delivered when he subjected Marlon Brando and Maria Schneider to Last Tango in Paris. Rossellini goes the distance in Blue Velvet, but Lynch removes himself from her experience with brilliant asides and amusing little in-jokes. In some ways, his actions are more vicious than those of the Hopper persona. This is Movie Foster. Subscribe and support us. Thanks for watching.